Hi everyone, I'm Joey Krahn. I'm a master's student in the program, and my research primarily focuses on dominance, competition, and group size for intensively housed dairy cow. So for me, this picture tells 1,000 words. It tells a story of social competition that we so often see on dairy farms, and especially social competition for resources. We know that cattle that consistently lose these competitions or are subordinate have restricted access to feed and are more susceptible to health concerns like disease and lameness. And ultimately, these can hurt production and be expensive. A question that Dan and Nina tell me we often get, and we actually received this question at the last IRC meeting, was what is the optimal group size for housing my cattle? And we looked at the code of practice and we saw that there was no regulations or recommendations about this. And that comes from sparse literature on the topic with only 3 studies published on this in the last 100 years. So in response, we posed the question, how does group size influence competition? And it's a simple question. So we posed a straightforward experimental design. We had one group of 50 cows and we monitored their behavior over 1 week. We did this using electronic feed bins, like the one pictured in the top corner here, that allow us to automatically measure competitive behaviors. After a week in this group, we moved them into 5 small groups. Essentially, in the pen, we just closed the gates and put 10 cows in each group. This was to keep the stocking density of animals to resources the same, so we're really looking at just the effect of being in a group of 50 versus being in a group of 10 on competition. So what do we find? I will start by saying that these results are preliminary. So we've done 4 replicates of this experiment, each including 50 individuals. So we have a total of 200 individual stories to tell. Today, I'm going to start by telling you just 3 of those stories, shown in the lines here. Each color represents a different individual's story in these groups. So to explain the plot, the x-axis, we have group size, so simple, 50 cows, 10 cows. And on the y-axis, we have the percentage of competition of competitive interactions that they've won. So cows above the dotted line are winners, cows below the dotted line are losers. And I'll just remind you that each of these colors represents an individual cow's story. So starting with the blue line, we see that it's horizontal, it's straight. And that shows that this cow had a relatively similar experience in each of the group sizes. Contrast that with the green line. So this cow is a winner in the large group. She's dominant, but then she moves to a small group and she's losing the majority of interactions, over 40%. Contrast that again with the red line. This cow is a loser in the large group. She's subordinate, but when she moves to the small group, she's winning nearly 70% of her interactions. A huge difference. So what does this tell us, right? So far from our preliminary results, my take-home message is that individuals experience social groupings differently, and different individuals might benefit from being a small group or in a large group. And that leaves us with our next steps. So essentially, this is going to be my mission over the next year, is to investigate what factors cause these differences. And to do that, I'm going to be investigating how animals of similar dominance, so are all subordinates experiencing the same conditions in these groups. I also want to look at feed availability and time of day. So if you feed your animals at 8 o'clock in the morning and it's now 12 o'clock and almost all the feed's gone, how is that affecting individuals in these groups differently? And we all remember the heat dome 2 years ago. And so I want to also include temperature in our model to see the effects of that on these competitive interactions. And I guess just to summarize, our goal here is to understand how group size affects competitive behavior because we want to help farmers make the best decisions when grouping their cows. Thank you.